Well, that's it, folks. That was our season. And the way it ended was pretty much a Cliff Notes version of what we've seen a lot of this entire season. Games being half called, underutilizing players to their full potential, sideline drama, shooting ourselves in the foot, and an astronomical amount of arrogance leading to incompetence. And we just watched all of that this season and everything combined this past Sunday night. The dream of back-to-back Super Bowl titles was crushed as the Eagles lost a close matchup to the San Francisco 49ers out of all fucking teams, losing 23-19. Even though the year is over for the Birds, many fans have vocalized their frustrations, rightfully so, and others have looked in a more positive light. And especially after what happened earlier this week, there's at least one reason to do so. We'll break down what that reason is while we recap the game, plus which unrestricted free agents should we look to keep going into 2026. We're talking all that and more, so without wasting any more time, let's dive right into it. What's up, y'all, and welcome to 2nd and 15, a Philadelphia Eagles fan podcast powered by Old City Sports Network, the best network for all your Philadelphia sports needs. This is your host, Michael Roscoe. So, this game is the reason that the week before, I did not want us to lose to Washington and have an 11-6 record, because in recent years, 11-6 has not been good to the Birds, and it definitely showed in this game. The Birds got things done in the first half, leading the 49ers 13-10 going into halftime. However, in true 2025 Philly fashion, they let up in the second half once again, attempting to rely on a gassed-out defense to bail out a habitually plain and vanilla offense that just can't get things going. After the second half, the Birds only managed 2 field goals despite 2 Quinyon Mitchell interceptions and plenty of red zone opportunities. This game was the personification of Murphy's Law. A lot went wrong. Jake Elliott continued to show regression, missing a crucial extra point after the first Dallas Goedert touchdown. A.J. Brown dropped as many passes as he had catches. The offense got stale as fuck once again going into the second half with dumb-ass play calling on second, third, and long situations. The secondary was getting cooked on deep passing plays, and to top it all off, with the season on the line on a 4th and 11 within the 49ers red zone, Kevin Patullo calls 4 vertical routes. Just so fucking stupid. And that was probably the best way to describe this game as. Just stupid. In addition to all that, you got A.J. Brown literally getting into a shouting match on the sideline with our head coach. Not a good look there. And out of all teams to lose this game against to, personally, I don't think it would have been as bad if it was the Bears or even the Packers. But the 49ers? That team acts so fucking arrogant and annoying all the fucking time, it's not even funny. Them and their fans have not gotten over 2022, and they make it well fucking known. And then you let them come into our house with their dumbass boombox, DeMarcus Robinson taunting multiple times throughout the game, yet no calls for that, and just they're being decimated from injuries. And you let them win. They talked the talk and they backed their shit up. And I know I sound like a hater because I am one right now. But for the Eagles, that should be fucking embarrassing to lose to them the way they did. But anyway, back to the game. The Birds lost a nail biter that had fans on the edge of their seats. Jalen Hurts went 20 for 35 passing for 168 yards, 1 touchdown, and 0 turnovers. Tight end Dallas Goedert was definitely the MVP of this game, securing both a rushing and a receiving touchdown. On the defensive side of the ball, despite having the worst start to a game in his career, cornerback Quinyon Mitchell continued to show why he's one of the best young defensive stars in the league. Mitchell would finish the game with a 93.1 rating, 3 total tackles, 3 pass deflections, and 2 interceptions. As we dive into our main topics this week, let's start off with some Eagles news. First off, Eagles signed about 11 or 12 players to reserve/future contracts since Monday, the majority of which are signings of players who have been on and off the practice squad throughout the season. But they also signed former Chiefs running back Carson Steele, and I know for some of y'all that name may sound familiar. It probably doesn't mean anything right now, but he took snaps as the Chiefs' fullback for all of their games in the 2024 season. So, to me, this is going to be something I want to check out, as they've been trying to get a consistent fullback thing going in the offensive scheme for the Birds with extra protection for Saquon Barkley. They had Ben Van Sumeren, but he got injured for the entire season on the very first snap of the first game, and they had tight end Cameron Latu shift over to fullback, and he wasn't a liability by any means, but I think he was underutilized to what he could have done, and again, that kind of sums up Kevin Patullo's offensive scheme. So we'll get to see if they end up keeping Steele / part ways with Latu, and maybe they finally get something going with this fullback position. In other news, and probably the best news the team and Eagles fans could have received in the entire world, is that on Tuesday, the Eagles officially fired offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo after 1 season as a play caller. We are finally free. After not seeing him get fired Monday, though, I'll be honest with y'all, I thought they weren't going to do it. It would have made zero fucking sense to keep Patullo, but I'm glad that the team came to their senses and fired his ass. Like, there is a part of me that does feel bad for him, like a small part, because at the end of the day, he's still a human being. He's got a wife, he's got a family, and he's got to take care of them, and losing your job definitely makes that much harder. And as a former pass game coordinator, though, I'm sure he can get a similar coaching position. But the reality of the situation is, at like 99.9% of jobs, if you do a shitty job, you get let go. And Patullo did a shitty job all season long. Now, if he had done a shitty job and then made long-term adjustments afterward, but like in the middle of the season, I might feel differently about this. But he did not do that. Like, at all. He's been a one-half play caller all season long, has refused to make any adjustments, whether that be pregame or during game, to meet the needs of the particular opponent of the week. This dude made Brian Johnson look like a fucking genius. When your quarterback looks at you absolutely fucking flabbergasted, and then he has to look to the head coach, your boss, for help after hearing the 4th and 11 play call that you drew up with the season on the line. That shows one of many examples of player frustration with Patullo's offensive scheme. A.J. Brown, Jordan Mailata, and others have publicly spoken their opinions about the offensive woes. I know that this was a hard decision for Sirianni, since him and Patullo are buddy-buddy. But deadass, I would not be surprised if Howie, Lurie, the whole organization, whoever the fuck is in charge of this type of shit, I would not be surprised if they approached Sirianni and was like, listen, either you fire him or we fire both of y'all. Low-key, if I knew ahead, like sometime in the past, that the future would bring a Kevin Patullo firing, but it meant we couldn't get to the Super Bowl, I kind of would not be mad about it, because it was another Brian Johnson type scenario. And then with Patullo's latest antics saying that the offensive woes weren't his fault after a phone call with Ryan Fitzpatrick, and he's over here putting the blame on others, we were looking at possibly even another Chip Kelly-like situation. I mean, the majority of the offensive woes, not all but most, were Patullo's fault. I don't care what he says. Most of them were his fault. We know about the other issues, the O-line injuries and issues, A.J. Brown, whatever. But at the end of the day, it all ran through Patullo, and thankfully we are free from another season of his miserable bullshit. But anyways, what's different about this OC firing that is different from the other OC firings is that there is a possibility that Patullo could remain in the Eagles staff. Now, if he goes back to pass game coordinator, fine, cool, whatever. We got to the Super Bowl with him in that position. I could care less. I don't care what the Birds do with him, as long as he stays way the fuck away from any play calling like scenario, as far fucking away as possible. But to conclude this rant, I am just so glad that we made the move and let him go, because I doubt anything would have changed with Patullo's play calling if he was our OC next season. I know it takes time for growth, especially when you're in a new position, but he had the whole fucking season with a stacked offensive roster, the highest paid offense in the NFL, and wasted their time and their talent in a system that just did not work. We knew it, the media knew it, the pros knew it, everybody on fucking planet Earth seemed to know that this shit didn't work, except Patullo and Sirianni. So with that, I do hope Patullo finds another job to be able to support himself, his family, all that, and whether that be on the Eagles staff or somewhere else. But as offensive coordinator, bye. Alright, shifting gears, so with Patullo out, who are we going to get to replace him? It's not an easy decision because yet another offensive coordinator for our QB each and every year in his NFL career is hard to find, and for Jalen to get adjusted to. A lot of names have been thrown around, including former Giants head coach Brian Daboll, former Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken, former Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniels, former Commanders OC Cliff Kingsbury, and former Brown heads coach Kevin Stefanski. Ideally, I would like someone who has either already been an OC or a head coach after being an OC. I don't think we take the risk of trying out an inexperienced coach, again, who's never been an offensive coordinator. Let's say, I don't know, a quarterback coach or a pass game coordinator, anything like that, because that clearly didn't work out for us. Also, please let us not get someone internally again, because that has not worked out for us either. I like the idea of Todd Monken, because even though the offense for the Ravens isn't what it could have been, they had one of the best rush attacks in the league, and I think he could get Saquon Barkley going again, maybe putting up some 2024-like stats. I do like the idea of Mike McDaniels, because he's known to be an offensive genius, and I think he is somebody who could have the balls to check Nick Sirianni when he ain't acting right. But there isn't the greatest history between him and our defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, considering McDaniels fired him after just one season when they were both on the Dolphins. And then I also like the idea of Brian Daboll. I like the aggressiveness he can bring to the table. He played a major contribution in helping build up Bills quarterback Josh Allen into what he is today. Plus, between Daboll's college coaching days and now, he has history with Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, and Saquon Barkley. And I think his history with three key offensive players could really shake things up and get us going next season. Whoever the Eagles decide on, I really think they just need to take their time with this decision. Hopefully we can hear something over the next couple weeks. And for the love of God, please keep Sirianni out of the decision-making process. All right, y'all, we're going to talk about some free agents going into 2026. With our season being over, we are now looking into the next season, which comes with a lot of free agents on our team. And obviously, with future contract extensions for players such as Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, or Nolan Smith, the NFL draft, salary cap, all that amongst other factors, we can't keep all of our free agents. Here's a list of current unrestricted free agents going into the 2026 season. You have safety Reed Blankenship, cornerback Adoree Jackson, linebacker Nakobe Dean, edge Jalen Phillips, edge Azeez Ojulari, defensive end Brandon Graham, edge rusher Josh Uche, edge Ogbo Okoronkwo, fullback Ben Van Sumeren, although technically he is a restricted free agent, but nonetheless a free agent, tight end Dallas Goedert, tight end Grant Calcaterra, tight end Kylan Granson, wide receiver Jahan Dotson, running back A.J. Dillon, offensive tackle Fred Johnson, offensive guards Brett Toth and Matt Pryor, quarterback Sam Howell, and punter Braden Mann. Now, in the next episode, I'll break down what I think about all of these free agents, whether we prioritize them, try to keep them, but if the price ain't right, let them walk, or just let them walk no matter what. But I'll end this episode with the free agent who I believe should be the Birds' top priority for keeping on this Philadelphia team, and that is edge rusher Jalen Phillips. The defense got significantly better after his signing, and he's been an integral part of this defense since his arrival midway through the year. Plus, he wants to be in Philly, which is a bonus, literally saying it would be, quote, difficult if he were not back with the Eagles next season. He wants to be in Philly. Why the fuck not keep him? It only took his first game in an Eagles jersey against a playoff team to prove why signing him was the right decision, and has only continued proving that in each and every single game after the fact. After signing with Philly, Phillips accounted for 53 total tackles, 29 solo, 41 pressures, 32 hurries, 7 quarterback hits, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, and 4 pass deflections. The dude was a nightmare for offensive tackles playing against Philly. I know that the injury history isn't a pleasant thing to think about, but I don't think that is enough of a reason for the Birds to question whether to keep him or not. He was literally the key missing piece to this defense. Prior to his signing, the defense wasn't horrible. They had horrible moments, but they weren't great either. After the signing, this new defense was a breath of fresh air. I don't know how they'll do it, but the Birds should absolutely prioritize finding a way to keep Jalen Phillips on this team. He's a great player. He's young. He's only 26, and he really wants to be in Philly. And I think that's a wonderful thing for us and a bad thing for everyone else. Now, yes, most of the time the players love/want to remain on their team, especially around these free agency times. But since his arrival, literally from the moment he got off the fucking plane, he's wanted to be an Eagle and felt home in Philadelphia. He's already formed a seasoned Eagle veteran-like presence with his personality. Vic Fangio loves him, the fans absolutely love him, and he loves everyone back as well. So whatever it takes, Philly, let's try to keep Phillips in midnight green. All right, y'all, that is it for this week's episode. Thank you all for joining it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, or follow on YouTube, X, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok by searching at Second and 15 or by the full name Second and 15, a Philadelphia Eagles fan podcast. You can find the audio for each and every single episode releasing Thursday mornings on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Player FM, Pocket Casts, or wherever you get your podcasts, with the video uploading to YouTube later that same day. This episode, Second and 15, and Old City Sports Network are brought to you by SeatGeek. Download the app or head on over to SeatGeek.com and use our promo code Old City Sports Network, all one word, for $20 off your first purchase. Even though the NFL season is almost coming to an end, there's plenty of sports to look forward to, whether that be baseball, the UFL, college basketball. Totally a reason to check out SeatGeek, use our promo code, and get $20 off your first purchase for an exciting sports experience. Once again, thanks y'all for joining in. This is Second and 15, a Philadelphia Eagles fan podcast powered by Old City Sports Network. While the Birds obviously don't play this weekend, the divisional round games are this weekend as the Rams head into Chicago, the Bills face the Broncos in Denver, the Texans and the Patriots duel it out in Foxborough, and finally, the Seattle Seahawks hosting the San Francisco 49ers. Fuck the 49ers. Anyway, Catch all those games on CBS and Fox this weekend to see who will move on to the NFC and AFC Conference Championship matches. We'll see y'all next week. Don't forget to stay fly like an eagle, and as always, go Birds!